You're listening to the How to Talk to Girls podcast with your dating coach, Trip, from tripadvice.com. Do you struggle with getting girls to like you? You'll learn step by step how to talk to girls to create deep connections, whether it be for one night of wild fun, a 1-week fling.
Are you currently involved in a sexual relationship?
Or for a lifelong partner.
Full of long-lasting pleasure.
Here's your host, Trip.
Hello and welcome to the How to Talk to Girls podcast. This is your host, Trip, from tripadvice.com. And today's episode is sponsored by Spartagen XT. You can get yours today at spartanlibido.com. It is the all-natural supplement filled with herbs and filled with vitamins to help you boost your sex drive and boost your libido. It is the testosterone increasing formula. So if you have any issues with testosterone or any issues in the bedroom, keeping it alive, keeping it hard, keeping your libido strong, then this supplement is for you. Go check it out today at spartanlibido.com. I highly endorse it. I've used it myself. I know a lot of guys who have already purchased it and have seen great results. So go ahead and check it out, spartanlibido.com. And this is called Spartagen XT to boost your libido, boost your sex drive, and do it naturally. Now, today's episode, we're going to be diving into a question from a listener, and I really enjoyed hearing this question because it's kind of covering a topic that we haven't really talked about. As you probably already know, we're talking about how not to creep out girls. So if you think you creep out girls, well, listen to this episode. If you are worried that you might and want to prevent it, well, listen to the rest of this episode because we're going to go over that today. I got some amazing advice for our guy who called in and left a voicemail, and I can't wait to answer it. So let's just get into it right now. Here it is, the question of the week.
Hey Trip, my name is Ryan and I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii. And so here's my problem. So I go to a pretty big university in Colorado, where there's a lot of pretty girls everywhere. And on your podcast, you've talked about just trying to go up to as many girls as possible and overcoming approach anxiety. And I've tried to do this a lot, just approaching a lot of different girls. And, you know, I've got rejected a lot, and my friends all think it's kind of weird when I do it. Like, some people think it's a little creepy, and I'm just trying to get better. I don't mean to creep girls out, but I think I might do it sometimes inadvertently. And I just usually I just use your line, like, hey, you're really cute. Like, I had to come meet you. My name's blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, some girls seem like really surprised. Some girls react nicely to it, but I was just wondering, like, should I just be going up to a bunch of girls and using this line, or is that weird to do? But yeah, I'm just trying to overcome the anxiety, trying to get better at it, because I know I'm a good guy, but sometimes I just have hard projecting that side of myself. So yeah. If you could answer this question, that'd be awesome. Thanks, Trip. No,
Ryan, thank you. Thank you for leaving a voicemail and asking a question that I can answer so we can learn from you. Now, the reason why I picked out this voicemail is because this is a great example of how to take the advice that you hear, whether it be from me, whether it be from another dating coach. This is a really good example of how to tweak and calibrate and learn and use your personality and the way you do things versus how, you know, other people might do it or tell you to do it. If that's confusing or I'm confusing you, let me just kind of clarify. So stick with me. Basically, you took my advice, right? You said, okay, Trip said go out, approach as many girls as possible, use the line that he says to use. And you're finding out that it's not really working that well. Well, first of all, I bet you it's working on some levels because it's probably helping you defeat that approach anxiety, which is the point, right? That's one of the points. We want to make sure that you get used to going up to girls and starting conversations, okay? But you're finding out it's not working that well. Now, from what I remember, you said that you go to a university. Now, you got to remember you're dealing with some younger girls. So it is a little bit different than maybe doing this to older women, being in your 20s or in your 30s and going out and approaching women, or being at a bar or at a club, something like that, right? That's going to be a little bit different. There's still these women who are in the university, who are in college, they're still kind of growing up and becoming mature. They're not used to getting approached. You are like the first guy who's probably doing this to them. Okay, they weren't getting this in high school, and they're not in the real world yet, so they're not really used to it. So you're going to get a lot of girls who are going to be like, what's going on? This is really weird. You're going to get a lot of guys who are going to be like, whoa, I can't believe you're doing that. By the way, that's a whole other topic altogether, in terms of how to deal with your friends. Probably best for another episode of a podcast, but we'll see if we can fit it in. Either way, the point is that these girls are kind of new to this. You're going in pretty strong. So what I'm saying is, when you listen to advice like this and it's not necessarily working for you, you have to tweak it a little bit, okay? That's kind of where a coach would come in, by the way. So if you did have coaching, if you had someone kind of watching you, there is generic advice. There is kind of generic advice that you could try, but it's always best to kind of have someone by your side kind of tweaking it. So I'm going to be that coach right now and tweak what I think you should do. So if this is not working, my guess is that you're coming on too strong, and it might not work as well because you're at the university. Again, I'm not, if there's any other college guys listening right now, don't think that you shouldn't try this either. It could very much work for you. You got to try everything, okay? But since that's not working for you, I would take it a step back, okay? So what I would do was, instead of going up to girls and continuing this process of, hey, I think you're cute, I wanted to come over and say, hi, I'm Ryan, right? I would take it back and just start conversations that weren't so direct. See, that direct approach of just going and telling a girl she's cute, it doesn't work all the time in every single situation. There's all different types of openers that you want to try and test to see if it works. So you just tested this one out, right? You found that it doesn't work that well. So now you want to test something else. My advice to you, Ryan, is maybe these girls are getting creeped out because you're being a little too forward and you need to take it back a notch, okay? And I don't see you doing these approaches. I don't know what you look like. I don't know how your body language is. I don't know what you're wearing. A lot of this stuff kind of comes into play depending on your approach. If you like, for example, this is an extreme example here. I'm not saying that this is you, but just imagine a homeless guy going up to a woman and saying one of two things, saying, excuse me, do you have a quarter, or I'm really hungry. She might kind of be like, oh no, I'm sorry. And then just kind of walk on. Still a rejection, but still kind of like a soft rejection. Okay. Imagine a homeless guy going up to a girl or a woman and saying like, hey, you're really cute. I wanted to say, hi, I'm Jack, right? And he looks homeless and he smells, right? She's going to be like, oh God, like, no, she's going to run away as fast as she can, right? Because she's going to be really creeped out. Now, again, I'm not saying that you're this homeless guy, but maybe you're dressing in a certain way. Maybe you're delivering the line in a certain way. Maybe there's something you're doing. Maybe you're talking too close to the girl. Maybe you're not giving them enough space. Maybe you're not giving enough eye contact. I don't know what it is, but maybe all those things together, the direct line is not working for you in that sense. So you might either want to fix some of those things I just discussed in terms of your style and your body language and things like that, or you want to go with a softer approach, going up and asking girls, I don't know, their opinion on something, even though I'm not really a big fan of opinion openers, but in college it kind of works best. Like maybe ask them for a direction somewhere, right? Just go up. In college, everyone's social. So it'd be fine. This is my line I like to say at a party, but you can use this in college almost anywhere. You can just be like, hey, what's up? I haven't met you girls yet. What's going on? And of course, it's pretty obvious because why would you have met them? But either way, it just kind of gets you into conversation. And then you can be like, oh, what's going on? What are you girls doing? Like, what's your major? Whatever. You can just get into an easy conversation. So you might want to try actually using a less direct line. It can be direct, but not as direct as like, I think you're cute, right? You can use something like that when you're out and about talking to these girls. Okay. So that's my best advice to you, is to try to soften the approach. And for you who's listening, my advice here is really simply the idea of calibration, which I've talked before on many podcasts. Of course, I'm not assuming that you've listened to all 121 episodes of this podcast. So we'll go over what calibration is once again. It's this idea of adapting to the situation, okay? Meaning that when you go and approach a girl, you don't know how she's going to react. You don't know what's going to happen. Okay, so you're going to have to calibrate to the situation. So if she is feeling kind of creeped out, you're going to have to take a step back a little bit. Okay, also, if you're being fun and flirty and she likes it and she's flirting back, well, then you're going to have to calibrate and push even further and be more flirty. Okay, and do it even more because she can handle it. And that can lead you to eventually touching her and getting a kiss, right? Because you know that she's accepting of your advances. So also there's this idea of calibrating your approach. So you got to understand that you're trying one thing, it's not working, so something has to change, right? Like you're going to have to change something, whether it be the way you're approaching, or like I said earlier, maybe it's changing the line that you're using. Okay, maybe that line is too direct, so you're going to have to kind of change something. It's all about testing and tweaking and testing and tweaking. Just consider this. Consider that the way you're approaching and the way you're talking to girls and the way that you're going about this whole thing, imagine it's never going to be perfect, okay? And so you always want to strive to get it even better and better and better. You should always be asking yourself, what can I do better? This is kind of the life coaching aspect of really anything that you want to do. What can I do better? Never assume that whatever you're doing is complete. Always push yourself to get better and better and better and better. And the best thing about that is the more you try to get better and better and better at whatever you're doing, the more results you're going to get, and the more, I should say, the faster you're going to get to mastery and being really, really good at something. Okay, never just accepting things the way they are. And that's a really hard thing to do. I'm not saying that's easy. I'm trying to do that with TripAdvice, right? I'm always asking, what can I do better? What can I do better? A lot of people might look and see all the stuff I have, like, whoa, you've done 100 episodes, you have hundreds of thousands of downloads, you have millions and millions of views on YouTube. And by the way, I'm not saying this to show off at all. I'm saying this to prove a point, okay? So a lot of guys or people might see that and be like, oh my God, he's made it, he's accomplished, he just has to kind of do his thing. But no, I'm always asking myself, what can I do better? What can I do better? How can I be better? How can I deliver better information to you? What can I say that's different in the podcast? How can I make the videos better? How can I create better programs? How can I have better guests on my channels, right? Things like that. I'm always seeking to improve. I'm always seeking to improve with women too. You think, oh, I've got it all. I got the podcast and the YouTube channel. I must be a complete expert. I know everything in the world. No, I need to get better too. There's still more to improve. There's still more to improve with women by understanding more about women. There's more to understand about relationships. I'm in a relationship right now. So there's a lot there. There's a whole different science to being, or I should say, creating an amazing relationship versus doing approaches, right? So you never stop learning. You never stop growing. And I hope that doesn't overwhelm you. Don't think about it as this overwhelming, like, oh my God, there's so much work ahead of me. Just think, no, there's always going to be work. It's always there. It's always going to be there in front of you. There's always something that you can improve on and do better at. And when you're stuck, that's when you try to get outside information. Ask your friends, if they're not, kind of weirded out by what you're doing. But ask someone for help. Go to an expert, right? There's always more information and more success you could really have in whatever field you're trying to get better at. So I hope that encourages you. Now let's talk about this friend thing for a little bit. Now I know this is tough for a lot of you guys. You're trying to learn how to get better with girls. You're doing some things that could be considered kind of wacky, right? To the average guy, doing a bunch of approaches is kind of weird. Whoa, you're approaching a bunch of girls. And really deep down, they're not thinking it's weird. They're just thinking like, whoa, I wish I could do that. And maybe that's not conscious, but they are. They're like kind of secretly jealous. So they want to be like, oh, that's weird. Almost as if like they don't want to see you do it because it shocks their reality. Like, whoa, they were comfortable just being in their little space, being able to just not approach and kind of not do those crazy things. They were comfortable in their reality of not having to push themselves. And they see you do that and they're like, oh my God, wait a minute. it shocks their system and it makes them feel a little bit uncomfortable. And what do they do when they feel uncomfortable? Well, they kind of put it on you, right? They put it back on you. They say, oh, that's weird, or that's strange, or I wouldn't do that, or, or they're going to look at your results and they're like, see, you shouldn't do that. Look, these girls are creeped out. Like, what are you doing, bro? Okay. So these guys, let's not be harsh on them. Let's give them a little bit of compassion, and let's just say that, what, almost like, okay, sorry, you feel sorry for these guys because they're not the ones who are really understanding what reality could be like and how you could succeed. And in a way, you kind of feel bad for them. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, they don't understand that. Sucks for them. They're not going to be able to succeed in these areas or do it like you are. And, let's not get mad at them or be like, oh, my friends are jerks, or let's not go the other side. Let's not say like they're right, because this is weird. This is not weird. A lot of people did a lot of weird things, and those people end up becoming innovators and famous. Steve Jobs, let's say, he was probably a little weird for thinking about the kind of stuff that he came up with, and now look at you, you're probably listening to this on the very thing that he created, which was the iPhone, right? So you got to think about being weird and innovating and doing things that most people aren't doing as a good thing. And if your friends can't understand that, well, that's their problem. It's not yours, okay? It's not yours. Because once you start getting results and they eventually see that, then they might turn around. But again, let's not have this process be about proving to your friends that you could be good. This is your own growth. This is your own thing. And, you can talk to them about it. You can say like, why do you think it's weird? I like to question. Like, I get a lot of people who question what I do for a living. They question it in a way where they're like, I don't get it. Like, they're just shocked. Like, there's a person out there that's giving dating advice and that's their job. That's their career, right? So I have to question them. I have to say, well, what do you think these guys should do when they're shy and can't talk to girls? And they never have an answer, right? So that's kind of something you can bring up to your friends. You can be like, well, what should I do? I want to meet girls. You can even ask them, do you want to meet girls? And they're going to be like, yeah. And I go, well, I want to meet girls. Do you have any better suggestions? Please, by all means. And be serious about it. Don't be like a sarcastic jerk about it. Like, oh, tell me, come on, what do you think I should do? Just be honest. Be very real with them. Well, what are your suggestions? How can I do a better approach? Like, if you have any better ways, please let me know, because by all means, I would love to learn that. I'm trying to meet girls. Don't you want to meet girls? Okay, how are you doing it? Right? And if they say something like, well, I just let it happen naturally. And say like, okay, well, I've let it happen naturally too. And guess what? Nothing's happened, right? Like, you're sitting there for years, no girls approaching you. You go to a party and I don't know, maybe there's not enough girls there. So it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to wait? You're going to sit there and wait? No, of course not. You're going to take things into your own hands. The best part about all this stuff that I teach is that you're putting yourself in a position of control. You're controlling the situation. You're able to go out there and able to create your own destiny. That's a crazy concept for some people. Like, this is a crazy concept for some people. They're really, and it's not their fault, especially guys who are your age in university who are, 18 to 22. They haven't been around long enough to realize that life is something that you can create. You can be proactive instead of reactive. You don't have to wait to let things happen to you. You can make things happen. That's possible. And it's crazy. And it might take you a long time to learn that, but it's definitely something that you can do. And it took me a long time to learn that. I didn't learn that until I was maybe in my mid-20s. So hopefully you're even younger than that. And you know what? If you're older than that right now and you're in your 30s and you're listening to this, maybe you're in your 40s or 50. Well, you know what? Good thing you didn't learn it even later than you are now, right? So at least you're listening now and learning that you can create your own life and you can make changes. And that's what this whole episode is all about. This idea that you can tweak, you can change, you can, fix things. If things are not going as planned, you have the ability to, like I said, to kind of fix and tweak and make things go your way, like Ryan's going to start doing after this episode, and maybe start doing a different type of approach. So that's what you got to think about. Okay. Those are some of the important lessons this week that I want you to take away, is that you are the creator of your life. And it's up to you to be able to make those changes, and you can do it. So don't let just life happen to you. take it by the balls, okay? So there you go. That's today's episode. Thanks so much for listening in. I hope that helped. If you have a question, don't forget you can call in 323-432-0025. I love hearing from you. I just want to get more and more voicemails so I can answer and we can help even more guys. Let's do it. We're just on almost on 123 episodes, I believe. Let me check. What are we at? Yeah, we're like 123. We're already getting up there. So more to come. Thanks again for listening. Call in 323-432-0025. Don't forget to check out Spartagen XT if you're having problems with testosterone at SpartanLibido.com. Thanks so much.
Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and write a review. Over 18 and want a question answered on the podcast? Email all your questions to Trip@tripadvice.com.